slot machine. Are you familiar with that? Have you seen your parents do it, or have you seen it on TV? You pull that arm down and what happens? They move and they change. Do you know what you're going to get? No. Okay? So in this example, the Coke machine is a function. You hit the button, that's your X, and your Y is what you get. Okay? Whereas the slot machine is not a function. You pull the arm, that's your X, and you have no idea what you're going to get. Okay? So that's why I included that picture. All right? Okay, let's go to the inside front. Now I have to tell you, today is going to be a lot of notes. All right? There's a lot of definitions and vocabulary that I just need to make sure you understand before we can talk about these different things. Okay? And, I told you I got here a little late. I want to make sure I'm giving you good definitions. All right. So how many of you have heard of domain and range? Domain and range? Awesome. All right. Does anybody know what the domain and range are? Okay. Me too. No, not really. All right. But I want to, like I said, give a good definition. So the domain is basically the set of all your X values. All right. So let's put that down. Domain. The set of all X values to be evaluated by a function. The set of all X values to be evaluated by a function. All right. The set of X values, basically. Okay, so if I were to say something like y equals x plus 2, the domain is going to be whatever we substitute in for x. Yes. The set of all x values to be evaluated by a function. So the domain is what we're going to substitute in for x, and then we're going to evaluate it by actually doing this, x plus 2, and that gives me the range. And the range is the set of all y values. The set of all y values that have been acted on. That have been acted on. I'm going to put acted on because they're not really acting in the function. But something has happened in the function to get that y. So let's say I'm going to let x be equal to, let's say, 1 and 3. No, let's not say that. Let's say 1 and 5. If x is 1 and 5, that's my domain. Okay. Then the y values, after I substitute in, if x is 1, 1 plus 2 is 3. If I substitute 5 in, 5 plus 2 is 7. So they have been acted on. They've had something happen to them. Does that make sense? Now, you're like, Miss Thede, how am I going to remember domain is the X and range is the Y? Has anybody got any good ideas? I like to use mnemonic devices. So domain starts with a D, and D comes in the alphabet before R, right? Just like X in the alphabet comes before the Y. So domain goes with the X. They both come in the alphabet first before R of the range and the Y values. Does that work for you maybe? Okay. Are we ready for function? Okay, a function is the relationship that happens to get the X values or the domain, like I said, a lot of writing today, to the Y values, which we also call our range. And this is probably the most important part. A function will pass the vertical line test. Have you ever heard of that? The vertical line test? Okay. It said, this is like 2 asterisks or stars. So I'm saying this is really important. A function will pass the vertical line test. This way is vertical. Okay. Which means if you have a graph and you put it on the graph vertically, any vertical line in there, if it goes through that graph only once, that means it's a function. Okay? And then finally, we have, okay. Which one? A function will pass the vertical line test. Function will pass the vertical line test. And finally, one-to-one. So the important thing here for one-to-one is that it has to be a function first. It has to be a function first. So if it's not a function, forget about it. It doesn't have to be one-to-one. You don't even need to check. Okay? It has to be a function first. And the second part is every element, new word, every element in the domain, I know, it's not quite enough room. Every element in the domain matches up with exactly one unique value in the range. And to use this, we use the horizontal line test. Horizontal. Can you see? Or am I right in the way?
No, we're fine.
Oh, okay. She said I'm fine. Oh. With one unique value of the range. And we use the horizontal line test for one-to-one. If it passes through your graph only once, then it is one-to-one. But remember, it has to be a function first. Whew. So 1 to 1 has to be a function first, and every element in the domain matches up with exactly one unique value in the range. So let's take a look at this example. Letter A, identify the domain range. Oh, we are not doing codomain. We're not doing that. So domain, because there are no restrictions on the x values, the domain, remember that means the x values, is, I'm just going to put x values here. Well, I'm going to try to write x values. The domain is all real numbers. All real numbers. Now remember, x is this line right here. Okay? It goes side to side, like so. Okay? When you see this graph, this is called a parabola. It not only is going down, but it's going down and out. Well, how far out are those lines going to go? If they have arrows at the bottom, they're never going to stop. So they're not only going down, they're going down and out forever. Now, watch this. There is a symbol that we use to write all real numbers. Instead of writing out all real numbers, the 3 words, you make one vertical line, and then you make another vertical line in front of it with a capital R. That is the symbol that means all real numbers. I would like for you to start using that, okay? Because that is going to be an answer for our domain a lot of the time. It's also going to be an answer for our range some of the time, okay? All right, let's take a look at the second one. So let's find the range. Are you guys familiar with The Price is Right? Probably not Bob Barker, though. Have you ever seen The Range Game? The Range Game. It's a game that has a vertical board, and the range game, you are trying to guess the price between these 2 points. Like it's red in between these 2 points. It goes here, and the music goes, and the player goes, stop. Okay? So range is vertical. Range is vertical. So because the maximum y value is 0, notice right here, it doesn't go up any higher, does it? 0 is the highest point. So the maximum value is 0. The range is y is less than or equal to 0. That is the range itself. Because I can't go any higher than that point. All right? Questions on that? Have you guys had some of this? Not so much. Some have, some haven't. Okay. Part B, determine if the graph is a function and if it is 1 to 1. So, first of all, function. If you have a graph, we want to do the vertical line test. So, if you take a vertical line, are you only going to cross that graph at any point 1 time? What's the answer? Yes or no? Yeah. You're only going to intersect it 1 time. So yes, it is a function. Function, yes. Now, 1 to 1, that uses the horizontal line test. So if you put a horizontal line anywhere on here, is it only going to intersect in 1 spot? Most of the time, no. One spot it will right here, but we want to talk about the whole graph in general. Okay? So if you do any other lines, it's going to hit in two spots. So this is no. It is not one-to-one. Questions on that? So a function, vertical, and for one-to-one, horizontal. Okay? You guys are doing great. Pretty quiet, but you're doing great. All right, let's turn the page. So now it says find the following for the graph shown below. Domain. Remember, domain are the x values. What do you think, what x values are they using in this graph? Remember, domain goes side to side. See if you can write something down. And then range, that is your y values, the range game. Then is it a function or is it one-to-one? Edward, that's bad for your nails. What's the domain? How far to the right or left does that graph go? Anybody want to share? What'd you put for the domain? Terrence, are you with me? Come on, head up. Lens, what do you think? Any idea? How far? Look at those end lines. They're going down. Are they also going out? Or are they going straight down? They're going out. So how far out are they going to go? Really far out to infinity. So that domain is all real numbers. I know, you're like, why are you writing this out when you just told us? Well, because I wanted you to get the idea. So that's it's a funky looking R. Or you can make a capital R like this and do another vertical line right in front of it. Okay? Now, do you see that? That's as if I would say, how about the number 100? Well, eventually, this line is going to go out, and I know that's going out a little bit quicker, but yes, it would hit 100. It would hit 1,000,000 if we had a number line that went to 1,000,000. Range. What is the highest number that this graph is reaching right now? Who said that? Who said that? Yes, 3. So we have 1, 2, 3 if we go by ones. So my range is that y is less than or equal to 3. Because that is the top. My graph does not go any higher than 3. And it sure does go down a lot more though. All right, we have a graph function. Is this graph a function? No? Yes. No? Yes. I need a tiebreaker. I got one no and one yes. What should I use to check? The vertical line test. If I do a vertical line, let's say right here, how many times is it going to intersect that line? Can you see? How many times does it intersect that line? Once, right?
Okay. Encontré esto en internet para how many times?
Ah, didn't understand? It is intersecting once. So we use the vertical line test. VL is vertical line test. Yes, it is a function. Okay, now you're like, oh, wait a minute. What if I do a vertical line like right here? It still is going to hit just in one spot. Okay, might not look like it, but it will. Now, one-to-one function. First of all, is it a function? Yes, so we've got that. And if I do the horizontal line test, how many places does it intersect? 2, and sometimes even more. Okay, so there it hits twice. Here it hits 4 times. So is that a one-to-one function? No, because it can only intersect once. Okay, and this is the horizontal line test. We have to say first, it has to be a function. Okay? All right. How are we doing? Okay. So we are going to stop there for today. I am going to give you your first homework. And this first homework